debate is about annexation and about settlements, de jure and de facto theft of Palestinian land, sequestrating and simply seizing it. Neither is new. East Jerusalem was annexed in 1980 and the Golan in 1981. Settlement has continued unabated under successive Israeli governments since 1967. It is the most obvious and effective manifestation of the occupation. But the focus since the launch of the so-called Trump peace plan in January and Netanyahu's call for annexation of the West Bank in May has been on annexation. Trump envisages 30 to 40% of the West Bank being absorbed into Israel, including the Jordan Valley and much of Area C. Netanyahu will go further, though in stages. If there remains any hope of a viable Palestinian state, and therefore of the two-state solution, either scheme would kill it finally. No doubt we will hear from the government that the threat of annexation has gone away, but it's clear from the comments made by Netanyahu himself, his ambassador to the UN, and indeed the US ambassador to Israel in the last few weeks that it is a temporary abatement and it is still firmly on the table. Let me say very briefly a word about the UAE-Bahrain accords with Israel. As an honourable friend has said, there has been no friction between these countries. Indeed, there's been a substantial amount of military cooperation. There's 1,000 miles separating them, and there's been no hostility between them. It's easy to see what is in the accords for Trump and for Netanyahu, less easy to see how it benefits the Palestinian or advances peace between Israel and Palestine. The Arab Peace Initiative, almost 20 years old, offered full recognition by the entire of Israel by the entire Arab world in exchange for ending the occupation. It's a pity that we haven't gone further down that route. And it does rather look as though this is rewarding bullying in the sense that by taking up annexation, the threat of annexation off the table, albeit temporarily, that Israel gains benefit from that. But really, Mr. Deputy Speaker, this is something of a distraction compared with what is actually happening on the ground at the moment. What is happening in terms of settlement expansion, 610,000 Israeli settlers living in the occupied territories, and as we've heard, thousands more units being built. The Area C being annexed de facto as we speak. Indeed, just today I heard from the villages in the South Hebron Hills, 12 villages, about 1,000 people, including Susya, that many members have visited, which are now being, through the process of incorporated into a firing zone, are being threatened with demolition in the same way that Khan al-Ahmar has been. Indeed, if you look at the situation in Gaza at the moment, with most of the water undrinkable, most people reliant on international aid, as far as the international community is concerned, that is still under occupation. So what do we do, Mr. Deputy Speaker, in the light of this situation? I repeat what the Honourable Claude West has said in terms of recognition. The government says when the time is right. I wonder what would make the time right. Perhaps the Minister can tell us that. That would be a positive step. We cannot continue trading with illegal settlements that are illegal under international law or supporting companies that do that. One positive thing is that many groups from all sides of the equation have come together to condemn the recent threats of annexation. I hope that is a way forward, but it comes at a bleak time. We acted within days in relation to the occupation of the annexation of the Crimea. Why can we not do the same for the occupied Palestinian territories? Yeah.